No worries. Chalega. So we'll do that then.
Sure.
Okay. So we'll just wait for 2-3 more minutes. Then I think they're doing it live.
Okay. Hi, Kunal. We are going live. You can start. बैठ करो।
मिल गया पास सीट वही आगे
Hello, everyone. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes. Let others join and then we'll start the session. We have with us a speaker for today. So we'll just start soon, start the session.
Sure. I will just let me know when you're starting. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
I will. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the another knowledge session of Prajatantra 2023. And first of all, congratulations to all those who have qualified for the Prajatantra finale. And we are happy to host you soon in Delhi for the finale. And I hope this month of October is starting with a very interesting knowledge session today, where we will learn about writing and presentation skills from our speaker. And very interestingly, this knowledge session is specially designed for you to understand and learn more about and incorporate the learnings, especially in your upcoming week for your preparation in the for the finales itself. So take this session and also understand, ask so many questions as you can, and also participate in this session. So I request all participants, please use the chat box. If you are, let's say, available, please raise your hand, unmute yourself, share your, keep on your videos so that we can have this session interactive. This is not the, as usual, knowledge session we have organized for this Prajatantra. This session is specially designed for the finalists and for other speakers, those who want to learn and understand more about the writings and the presentation skills. So with that, I just wanted to start and welcome our guests for today. Welcome, Prachi. I just wanted to start with the introduction. Prachi is the consulting editor for the Citizen Matter, Mumbai. She's also an independent journalist and a teacher based in Bangalore, India. Previously based in Mumbai, she has reported political, social, and cultural stories for publications such as Outlook, BBC News, and The Hindu, from Maharashtra, Goa, and Gujarat. So, Prachi, thank you for joining us today. And we are eagerly waiting to hear from you and give this opportunity to our participant to learn from you. So with that, I just wanted to hand over this place to you so you can start the session. And we are there to support you. And also I request all participants to be active during the discussions and ask some questions as we want to do. Over to you, Prachi.
Thank you. Thanks, Aviral, and thanks, Praja team, for having me. Virtual sessions are hard, right? So
yeah.
I would really want this session to be as informal and friendly and conversation driven as possible. So a few things that I wanted to set out, right in the beginning was that writing skills is not something that we can do in one session, in one half-an-hour session, or any such thing. I'm sure all of you know that writing takes a lot of practice. But what that means is that you can always master good writing with practice. So very, very simply put, one of my editors used to say, writing is an exact art. The more you focus on language, the more you focus on your thoughts, the more you practice, the more you edit, it gets better and better by the day. Right. So one thing which I wanted to ask all of you, if you would like to share with me, is that do you find speaking easy or writing easy? Like, because there are always two groups of people. One group will find speaking easier than writing. One group will find writing easier than speaking. Yeah. So everyone is a writer. Do we have more?
Yeah, it feels like that everyone is a writer.
Yeah.
Except a couple of responded for speaking.
So do you feel that, like, those who find speaking easier think that writing is hard, and those who feel that writing, like the other way down? It's as if you can't do both, right? It's as if you can't do both at the same time. And the funniest part is it's the same language, right? So what do you think is really happening when you find one thing harder than the other? What's your take? Like, what is it that stops you from doing the other thing more easily? Sorry, there are like lots of chat responses. 1 second. Because while speaking, we get direct feedback. Yes. One has always. Okay. Yes. True. So yeah. So basically, what really we are thinking about when we are either speaking or writing is, are we communicating effectively, right? And are we making any mistakes? Is the person who is either reading you or watching you or hearing you, is that person judging you, right? What are we really thinking about when we speak? For example, right now when I'm speaking with you, I feel that, are people really understanding what I'm trying to say? What do they think? Is this too much? Is this too silly? Is this too good? Is this too bad? Right? So when we are trying to speak or write, constantly there is a parallel process going on where you're trying to anticipate what is really going to be the response of the person. In effect, we are always writing or speaking or communicating, which includes both writing and speaking, for your audience, right? You're always trying to speak with someone. You're always trying to write to someone, right? Here, we will not try to focus on writing for yourself, right? That is something that will be a different exercise altogether. It can be you can write alone while you speak in front of someone. Yes. It's easy to express. What is easy to express, writing or speaking? Before writing, we have to think twice. Yes. So what happens is, when you are trying to speak to someone, you always want to keep in mind, who are you talking to, right? Who are you talking to, and who is your audience, and what is there? For example, let's think about it this way. Would you talk in the same way to a 6-year-old, to a 16-year-old, or to a 60-year-old, right? You will speak differently, correct? Which means you will change the way you communicate depending on your audience. So, two things here. One, how are you feeling? How are you placed when you are writing or communicating? Second, who are you communicating to? What are you communicating for? How are you going to, what is the reason for that communication in your audience? Correct? For example, again, let's say you're writing a letter to your friend. Is it the same as a letter to your college professor? No. Is it the same as a letter for a job application? No. Is it the same as a letter to Prime Minister of the country? No. Right? Again, very, very important. Who is the audience? Correct? We change according to who we are writing for. However, at the same time, we also have to follow certain basic writing skills, basic ways of communicating for everyone. Correct? So far, so good. Yeah. At any point, you can stop. You can tell me if you want to share your writing experiences, like maybe some really good or maybe some really not so good. You can please raise your hand and share. No worries. I'm happy to listen to you and communicate, right? And we can the entire group will benefit from it. So don't worry about sharing your experiences, right? Have you won an essay competition? Have you made a speech in school, college, society gathering, anywhere, right? Have you participated in a debate? Any of that, right? Would love to hear from you. So what are we really looking at here? Basic writing skills, which can be common for as many age groups as possible, not necessarily kids and not necessarily the Prime Minister, but let's say something in between. So what is it that we want to focus on, right? We already discussed that you have to keep the audience in mind, right? Keep the audience in mind. Who's your reader? Especially if you find speaking easier than writing, then you may want to think about why that happens, because actually you have more time to collect your thoughts, more time to put them on paper. So why is it that you're finding writing harder? Correct? So think about that and tell me, why do you find writing more difficult than speaking? There is a very clear reason why speaking is difficult for some people. It's the confidence of putting yourself out there, you feel more vulnerable. You feel more judged. You feel more, introverts might find it harder to speak in a group of people in second or third language, right? It's not our mother tongue. English is not necessarily our mother tongue. We find it harder to speak in front of a group of people. So that's one thing. But writing, why do you find it harder? So is grammar an issue? Is language an issue? Do you feel worried that are you constructing sentences correctly? Right? So language is one part of writing. What is the other part, and more important part probably, is your content. Correct? What are you writing about? For example, all of you have participated in various competitions, right? Can you tell me some of the subject matters? What is the subject of your, what have you been talking about or researching, or what have you been focusing on in this competition? So what do we need? We need one subject matter, and we need the right kind of presentation of that subject matter. You might have really good language skills, but you may know nothing about the subject. Does that help? Not one bit, right? You may just use really beautiful words, and you may still come across as someone who knows nothing. So one part of your presentation or writing is the language itself, which means control over words, grammar, sentence construction, simplicity, how your paragraphs are constructed, how your reports are constructed, right? The second and the more important part is, do you really understand your subject? Right? Now that is very important. If you understand your subject, I recently participated in Youth Fest of Mumbai University and development of NEP through arts. Right. Great topic, right? NEP really riles all of us. So I taught at a college where NEP was introduced the year that I had started, and oh my God, I could cry about it forever. So, right now, one is knowing English and talking about education, importance of arts, importance of this. However, what if you don't know what NEP stands for? Does that work? No, right? What is NEP? Do you really understand NEP? If you have a complete understanding of the subject, you will be able to write it in a more simple, accessible, and clear way. Now, that is something that is very, very important, right? Whatever is your subject matter, do you have, what shall we say, good knowledge, good references, good research on that subject? Have you done that much research on that subject so that you will be able to write about it with confidence? A lot of times I find that I also teach at a college, right? I teach journalism, and I find that when students don't know what the topic is, they don't know enough about the topic, they end up making not just mistakes in their writing, but they also make mistakes in factual presentations, right? Now that really does not go down well with anybody. Whenever you're writing for people, whenever you're going to present this for your judges and in your final competition and all of that, it's okay if you miss out one clause somewhere, if you miss out an adjective somewhere, but it is not okay if you make a mistake in your facts, right? For example, if you say something happened in 1947 and something happened in 1965, you cannot say 1966 for it or 1948 for it. Correct? So remember, whatever you are focusing on, whatever is the subject of your essay or presentation or whatever, make sure that your research is good and solid, right? So what I suggest to all of you is, when you have a presentation coming up or when you have an essay coming up, before you start to write, can you first write the points of what is it that you want to say, right? For example, if you, let's talk about the education policy, right? Now, NEP, you can do a PhD on it, right? It's a huge topic. Now, in your presentation, you will be given 5 minutes or 10 minutes. In your essay competition, you will be given maybe 1 hour to write. So tell me, very focused and a sharp point as to what do you want to say about it, right? If we are talking about the new education policy, what do you want to say about it? What's your story? Right? So Mihir Singh Waghela, yeah. So what is it that you want to yes, what is it that you want to say about NEP? Are you
Yeah,
typing?
so
Yeah.
yeah, I was able to unmute now. So
Right.
like my topic of NEP was development of NEP through arts. So I approached it from like I defined NEP via facts, like it is the new policy which is introduced in decades. Later, I defined the term arts. So for many people, arts might be visual arts, but I took the definition of arts on the abstract art. I was then after defining abstract art, I connected the NEP to its core values such as creating reliant students with values, having experience for students, live experience for students. So I connected the definition of abstract art of any to the NEP, and by the end of a road, I connected the NEP, the core values of NEP, to a conversation of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and Pramukh Swami Maharaj, which was in a book. So I gave the reference of the book and I connected the conversation there and ended with the note of spirituality and NEP. So this was my take on NEP. Yeah.
Right. So what was your, so where did you find it easy? So when you had first thought about it, like, that you will connect NEP and abstract art. So that's your starting point, right? So this goes for all of you. So when you have to make a certain kind of presentation or you have to decide what is it that you want to talk about, then you first have to have that short slug, NEP and abstract art. Now that is the point where you start your writing / presentation / research, start everything else. So when you have that starting point, that's when you start developing it, right? Then you start developing. Now, how do you develop it? What is it that you want to say about? Now, here you have a story where you want arts to be included in the NEP, right? Which means what are you doing here? You are making a case for better space of arts in the education policy. Correct. Now, this becomes a sort of an advocacy document or an advocacy pitch in that sense, right? Where you want the policymakers, where you want the administrators to include abstract arts, which means access to it, exposure to it, understanding of it, space for it to be in your curriculum, or at least in time, in terms of space and time in the academic year for abstract art to be given to the students, right? Am I correct? Is that yeah, right? So now you know what you want to do with it. You know what you want to push for. Accordingly, you start writing your pitch, you start writing your essay. Now, how do you develop it? Let's say we want to go from point 1 to point 2 to point 10. Correct? So you have the topic, you have the sharper focus, right? Topic is NEP, focus is having abstract arts in NEP in a more solid way, right? And third, fourth, fifth would be to prove and argue that this should be done by the administrators. Correct? This should be done by the government. This should be done by schools and colleges, which means you go from point A to point B to point C. You explain what is NEP. You explain what is abstract arts. You explain the importance of abstract arts. And then you go on to explaining how NEP should have abstract arts. And fifth, how the government should do it. Six, how the schools and colleges should do it. And 7, 8, 9, 10, how it can be done easily, or what will be the challenges for it, or what will be the difficulties in it, and all of that, right? So what you're doing essentially is starting from a simple point, going on to explaining what your hypothesis is, and then proving, arguing, and giving enough reasons for that hypothesis to be proven by good, simple writing and facts and figures, right? So every argument, everything that you write has to have a thread which appeals to your mind, right? Now imagine, if you had started this saying that all schools must keep 4 hours for going to a museum, right? It sounds drastic. Most schools don't even have toilets here. What are you talking about, right? So how do you make it appealing? How do you make it appealing and convincing, right, for your readers, whatever you're trying to present? Now, NEP is just one topic. If we think of any other topic also, you will always find that when you are talking to an audience, when you are writing to an audience, you want to prove something. You want to convince them of something. You want to explain something to them. You want them to understand something that you understand, right? You want to share something. So here you are. It's always two ways, right? It's always two-way communication. So you want it to go somewhere. You want something to reach to the people. Now, if you say mass communication, it means one person reaches out to hundreds and thousands of people. If you are communicating one-on-one, it could be me emailing to you and you emailing to me, right? However, in all forms of communication, in all forms of writing, certain things will always remain the same. One, like I said, identify what the subject is. Second, identify the focus. Third, identify what is it that you want to say, correct? Fourth, who is your audience? Who is your audience? Are you writing for the young adult section in a newspaper, or are you writing to the professor in Oxford? Based on that, you will follow up with your research and your arguments and your references, right? Another thing, have an outline. Do you have an outline? What is it that you want to say about it, right? Now, it could mean anything. What should be your first point? Background of NEP. What should be your second point? Background of abstract arts. What should be your third point? Blending of NEP and abstract art. What should be your fourth point? Benefits of it. What should be your fifth point? Challenges in it. What should be your sixth point? How to overcome the challenges. What should be your eighth point? How can people reach out? What is the call to action, right? Every subject that you think of will have a thread, will have a logical step-by-step way to follow. So think about what is it that you want to communicate? What is it that you want to say? Even if you're writing a leave application mail to your boss, right? What is the main point? Leave application. You have to prove why it is important. You have to prove you have the leave, right? You want to prove that you are going to finish all the work before and after and nothing, and the whole world is not going to collapse when you go for 2.5 days, right? So you want to put all this. You can't say, oh, I'm really bored, I just want to go to Himalayas for chilling. Nobody, fine, it's your right, but then how do you present it? Correct? So how do you write? How do you write in such a way that the person who's reading you, A, is not offended, and B, is convinced of what you're saying, correct? So remember few things. Again and again, I'm repeating. That's because I want you all to remember this. Have a firm grip on your topic. Language and understanding of topics are two pillars on which your good communication will rest, right? Yes, language is important because otherwise people will not understand what you're saying. There's a wonderful book called Panda Eats, Shoots and Leaves. Have any of you read it or heard about it? Yeah. Just Google it. Panda Eats, Shoots and Leaves. Now, because of a misplaced punctuation, do you know what pandas eat? Pandas eat shoots and leaves, bamboo shoots and leaves. Now, because you put the comma in the wrong place, there's a picture of panda taking a gun and shooting and leaving. Why? Because your comma is in the wrong place. Your semicolon is in the wrong place, right? So you don't want people to not understand your writing because everyone follows certain rules of language, of grammar. That's one thing. That is something. How do you improve with that? You will improve with reading, and more reading. How many of you read every day? Any responses? Yes, Monica. How much time do you read every day, and what is it that you read? Don't tell me in shorts, okay? I will not accept it.
No. I do read.
Yes.
So currently I'm reading the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I think it's more of scientific research that it combines. It's a bit difficult because it has more of science or to it, to the
Right.
philosophy, science to philosophy.
Right.
But yeah, it's
Right.
good. It's a good read.
Nice. What about the others? Savani and Yehiel. Is that correct? Am I pronouncing it right?
It's pronounced Yehiel. Yeah, almost.
Yes.
I-
So what
I
are you
read-
reading? 20 minutes a day. Okay. That's good.
Like I guess 30 minutes reading. I like to read newsletters, especially even if I don't agree with what they're publishing, I like reading what they're publishing because it's
Yes.
interesting what other people are thinking, especially op-eds. And I'm also reading a book called Educated by Tara Westover, which is a memoir.
Right. Right. Oh, there are a lot research papers and newspapers, both Bible, rereading Norwegian Wood, reading news on social media, on Twitter, 20 minutes a day, around 20-25 minutes. Right. So I'm so glad that all of you are reading. That's a good one. So I'm so glad that you guys are taking time out for reading. Now, what does reading really do, right? It increases what is called your dormant vocabulary. Now, what is dormant vocabulary? It means words that you understand but you don't necessarily use in your writing. Often you will find that when you read books, you understand a lot of it, but you will not use many of those words. Right? So when you read a lot of stuff, when you read different kind of things, and I highly recommend reading beyond your scope of work. It could be anything. It must read a newspaper a day, must read some sort of middle shelf value type of a magazine, whatever you're interested in, art, heritage, travel, history, whatever you like, and fiction, non-fiction, whatever you like. Don't feel pressured that you have to read only what you are studying or specializing in. Right? That's one mistake we all do. I have done it for years, and in the process what happens is you neither read what is work related and nor do you read what you really enjoy. Right? Every time you take a book of poems, you feel no, I must read what the parliament is all about. Right? No, it doesn't work like that. You have to read all kinds of things, and what it will do is it will really make your English subconsciously better. Your dormant vocabulary increases. You understand many sentence constructions that do not come naturally to you. You also find different ways of writing, and that does not mean copying. Right? It does not mean copying. You understand what conversational writing is. You understand what creative writing is. You start understanding what descriptive writing is. Often you will find in a novel there is extremely minute description of what like one room looks like or what one moment is all about. Right? It makes you think about how you will describe something else. Correct? So read all kinds of things, dedicate good enough time for it. A very easy practice, which I stopped doing, I confess, but which will really help when you are improving your language is when you finish a book or when you finish something of consequence, like, even if it's a very difficult research paper, let's say you're reading, just take all of you are mostly now working on your mobile phones, right? You have notes in your phone or just a simple pen and paper and notebook, and write down what did you like about the book, what did you not like about the book, and any moments, anything that you feel was worth remembering. It should not be more than 300 to 400 words, right? It has to be really short. It has to be just one page of your college register book, right? Just write as soon as you finish the book. Let's say you have taken 6 months to finish Shantaram, right? But on the day you finish it, write down how you felt about the book on that day. Just one page. Just one page. What the book is, who the author is, what did you like, what did you not like, and anything else that you feel like writing. It's completely for you. It's just for you to, what it does is it makes you analyze, right? It's not just, I love Shah Rukh Khan kind of a thing. No, it is something that makes you think, what did I really like about this book? In the process, you start developing an analytical mind. When you start developing your analytical mind without forcing it, you automatically start doing it in every other aspect of your teaching, writing, communicating, whatever it is, right? So try to do it as a very simple exercise. Now, what if you were to send that what you have written to some of your friends, right? If you were a part of a book club or you're part of this cohort together, right? What if Monica wants to talk about one book to Nasreen? Now, how will you send that one page? Immediately, you will try to structure it better. Correct? How will you structure it? You will say, I read this book recently. You will not suddenly say, this book is great. You will introduce the topic, right? So, structuring starts to come after you have decided what the topic is, what you want to say about it, who your audience is, and you have some kind of points about what you would like to cover, right? After that comes your structure. What's your introduction? What's your beginning? What's your middle? What's your end? Correct? What is it that you would like to start with and end with? So that becomes your structure of the document. Like I said, any document from 200 words to 2000 words, same stuff. Right? Some principles will always remain the same. So what will you do? Depending on your topic, focus, research, and audience, you will decide how will you introduce this book. Right? Now, if Monica knows that Nasreen is already a fan of the author that you are reading, what will you say? Hey, you know what? I really like your favorite author. Right? Because then you bring the audience in. You engage because you already know that the audience is already aware of it. However, let's say you're writing to me and I have no idea who this person is. And you will say, hey, you know what? I was doing some reading and I came across this really interesting book and it's about a topic that might interest you. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to create some kind of interest in my mind. So you change your writing, you change your introduction, you change the way you are presenting your facts depending on how you would what your audience is like. Correct? And then you decide, do you want to quote from the book? Maybe you can. Do you want to quote from other books of the same author? Maybe you can. Right? If you are doing a book review for the Sunday Hindu, you will do all of this and more. If you're doing it for a 1-minute podcast on Radio FM, you will just refer to it as, hey, you know what, this is the best thing about it. Right? So based on that, you will change your language from friendly to conversational to formal. Always, always remember, no abusive language, no slang. No slang. It doesn't matter. And please, please do not use short forms that are social media driven. Right? LMK, IDK, in what is that? In my honest opinion, I am nobody. No, please, TC and what? Talk to you later. No, please don't do that. Right? Don't do that. Type it out. Type it out. It's okay. Right? No harm done. It takes only 10 seconds extra. Don't use slang. Conversational does not mean slang. Right? Friendly does not mean disrespectful or inappropriate. So understand how language functions. Doesn't matter who your audience is. Even if it's a 6-year-old, even if it's a 16-year-old, you will not use disrespectful language. You will not use slang. You will not use any kind of abuses which are casteist, sexist, racist, none of that, right? So all of this you have to practice. We're already at 4:40. So any questions so far? How is it going for you? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Yes, Aviral, do you?
No, I just wanted to open floor for discussion if anyone
Yeah,
wants
that's what I was
question.
thinking, because it's
Yes.
so just to quickly do a quick recap of what I have been saying for the past half an hour is, what is your subject? What is the sharper focus of your subject? Who is your audience? What are you going to present? How are you going to present, right? Remember these 5 things. And a very short exercise, if all of you can do, is just writing about the book that you read or the paper that you read or whatever, just to practice. The more you practice, the better you get, right? I'm very glad that so many of you read with special focus on reading and not just work related reading. So keep at it. The key to improving writing is reading, really. I mean, the more you read, the more your vocabulary will increase, the more your exposure to writing will increase. Your writing will automatically get better. Yeah, so please go ahead and.
Yes, you are now be able to unmute yourself as well. So if you want to ask any question, floor is open. You can unmute yourself. I can see some of the raise hand. You can go one by one. So yes, Mirish, you can go ahead.
So myself, Meensi Agela. So I would like to tell you, ma'am, that I am a content writer myself too. I like to write content, and personally speaking, speaking is little hard for me. Rather than content writing, I can say content writing is very easy for me. Like if I just get a gist of a topic, I can really transform it to a complex level. And so the question here was, we have 2 things. The first is a compendium. So in that, we have to write about ourselves professionally. We have to conduct about ourselves professionally in about 300 or 400 words. So how we should approach ourselves in writing professionally, like what should we do, what should we mention, what should we not mention about it?
Very simply put, what is it that you would like to communicate to the others about yourself, right? Do you want to present yourself as a content writer? Do you want to present yourself as a whatever is your ambition, right? Do you want to present yourself as, what is it that you want to get out of this compendium or this competition? So if you have 300 to 400 words, don't waste those words, right? Don't waste those words. I would say make it very clear who you are, what you have done, what is your background, and what is it that you want to achieve through this. Because when you are presenting yourself, right, what will the judge or whoever is examining or supervise, I don't know, whoever is in front of you, they don't know you, right? So if you were to present yourself in front of them, 300 to 400 words means not more than 2 minutes, not more than 2 to 3 minutes for them to go through this. So do not use unnecessary words. Do not use, I find a lot of times people using, what shall I say, jargon, which means very little. So I personally do not like to use unnecessary heavy words which are which don't really convey anything, especially if you see like a lot of LinkedIn posts, right? They're full of that, right? So I really prefer if somebody, like for example, I introduce myself as a journalist, right? I could say so many things, like having done this in 2003 and having done that in 2006. Dude, if people are interested in my life, they will go and Google me. right? They will find out what I am. So keep yourself like, and don't, be honest, that really, I think that really, say I am interested in, if you want to give a little personal touch to what you want to say. When you said spirituality, I did not think of abstract art as spirituality, right? I did not think about it. So that is something that stuck with me when you said it. So give something unique about yourself, right? That can be done in 300 to 400. I am like somebody who says that, somebody who's a scientist, and suddenly if he comes and says, oh, I am a great fan of James Bond movies. Sounds fun. Give me something like, which is unique to you. That's fine. So keep it straight, keep it short. 300 to 400 words is not much. So keep it short and come to the point, right? Do not use a language which will not really say much about you. So write it up, write it straight, write it honestly, and think about what is it that you want them to know about you. Yeah.
Okay. I have one more question. Is it okay? Yeah.
I don't know. Does anyone else have a question, or can he go?
Yeah, I don't think so. You can go ahead and then maybe you can ask Nika. Yes, Ms. Chin, you can go ahead.
So another question was, this was about content writing for as an information. Another thing is we have two things on in the final day. One is field visit presentation, where we have to like present facts in the 3 minutes. And another is personally speaking, I have economic policy presentation. So the duration for it is 5 minutes. So the question about it was, how should I present myself? Like I'm a bit weak on the speaking area. So I need to develop my how to convey things. So also the catch point here is we have very less time. We have around 5
Yes.
minutes or 3 minutes. So like how to speak effectively in a less time and exactly pinpointly.
So I would say that, when you have to present whatever you have to say in less than 5 minutes or 3 minutes, prepare only 2 minutes and 4 minutes. When you are preparing, when you are trying to speak, right, in front of the mirror, and I would not recommend writing all of those 4 minutes and mugging it and then puking it all out over there. Don't do that. Take points either on your I don't recommend phone, because often it looks very distracting when you refer to it. Say, let's say for example, if I was doing this is what you should do, sort of a thing. So don't do that. Keep a piece of paper, write in bold, which you can see very easily from the corner of your eyes, right? Points that will help you trigger 1 minute of speech, right? So you should have points which you will explain. I'll tell you the difference between what happens. Why do I not have a PPT today? Because what happens is, when you run a PPT, is everyone looks at the PPT and no one looks at my eyes, right? So you want to have that eye contact. Even if I look silly, it's fine. Even if you get bored, it's fine, right? But let's say out of 100 people, even if 20 people are looking at me, at least they will remember what I'm saying and they will try to listen. In today's day and age, because of mobile phones and everyone being plugged in 24/7, people no longer remember what you speak, and it's a very real thing. People I'm not blaming anyone here. I'm not blaming the younger generation, older generation, nothing of that sort. The capacity of people to retain what is being said is really decreasing by the day, and that is because you are overexposed. Everyone is. I don't remember things. You may not remember. We've been talking for 45 minutes. You will not even remember 5 minutes of it 2 days later, right? Not because I am good or bad, or you're good or bad. That's just the way we live nowadays, right? So speak to the audience, speak to your people, look at them, right? Start with something which will get their attention, refer to something recent that has happened. That always gets people hooked, right? Some big thing that may have happened, right? If you are able to connect something that has happened in our world in today's day and age, it will always be a good starting point. For example, if I say, you may all know that Dussehra is coming in 10 days and Mysore is going to be shut. Immediately, people in Karnataka will sit up and listen, right? Or you may say something like, you may all know that our parliament building was inaugurated recently, right? Immediately, people know that you're talking about here and now. Start with something which connects, right? And make it quick. When you are practicing this at your home in front of a mirror, a 3-minute session, you should do it in 2 minutes in front of the mirror. Going over the limit is always boring. The reason I cut short the moment I saw 440 on my screen was because nobody wants to keep time more than what is already stipulated, right? So if you are doing a 5-minute presentation practice, your presentation at home in front of your mirror should get over at 4 minutes, and you should say, I'm stopping here now, and your good and important point should be conveyed in those 4 minutes. And you can always say, there is a lot more that I can talk about this. There is a lot more on this issue that we can discuss. However, because of the limitation of the time, I want to focus only on this aspect of this subject, right? Let's say if we're talking about women's safety, I could talk about it for 24 hours at one go. But if I have 4 minutes, I want to talk about the girl who did not get help when she was raped in Ujjain and no one opened the door for her, right? So I want to talk only about that. I could talk about women's safety for, like I said, for 24 hours. But I want to focus on this because this is what is important to me and this is what I want to address. Correct? So focus sharp and end in your given time with your important conclusion in those 4 minutes done. It should not be that, because otherwise what will happen is the most important thing will be left out. If the buzzer goes at 5 minutes and you get sort of hassled, you will forget the best line that you may want to recite, you know. So do that. Yes, Monica.
Good evening, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah.
So, ma'am, my concern was that in the final round, the only part that I would like to present is, or on my part, is the presentation on the field engagement. So during the interaction that I'm having with the citizen survey, what I find is that the results would be indicative of a concern for the local government, that it has to provide services to the people. So while presenting, how the balance could be maintained so that the research does not sound discouraging. However, it is truly representative of the situation, because the situation is literally discouraging.
I think if the situation and the facts indicate that the situation is discouraging, you should not shy away from it.
It's all right, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, how will we correct it? If
Yes.
we don't accept the problem in its entire significance and magnitude, how will we correct it?
Okay.
Right? There is no need to sugarcoat your findings if they are valid findings.
True.
Yeah.
Thank
So like every time people tell me, you know, I'm a journalist, right? So I get told all the time, तुम लोग हमेशा खराब क्यों लिखते हो? Like you're always talking about bad news, right? I always tell people, it's not my job to tell you good news. Good news is being done by, like, you know, like films and fun magazines will give you the good news. My job is to give you reality. So if this is what you have, present it. At the same time, if you feel that there is enough scope for improvement in short term, long term, medium term, whatever you feel like, right? Whatever your understanding says, most definitely present it. Most definitely say that, yes, things can be improved if XYZ measures are taken. But there is no need to whitewash, no need to sugarcoat, and there is no need to dilute your findings.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, anyone wants to ask more question? I guess who else wants to ask? Please raise your hand. I can see the Siddharth raise. Please, Siddharth, you can unmute yourself.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what problem I face during my anything like speech or presentation or anything like that? In the starting, I don't have any idea. But when I start to research or think about it, I have many ideas. And in the end, like I have too much of things to
Too many
present. Or,
ideas.
yeah. Then I like it's a problem how to filter out the best out of that. Like because we have limitation of time as you talked about, but I don't know how to filter out the things and how to select the best part of it.
Right. So my suggestion will be, if you have done adequate research and you're feeling overwhelmed, right? What you're telling me right now is that there is too much, right? So think about it. Go away for like an hour or so. Think about it very deeply. Think about it and come to some sort of a short list. What is about this topic or subject that needs the attention of the audience? See, your motive is very important here, right? When you're making this presentation, what are you making it for? Are you making it to let's say for the whole world to change, or are you making it for one town to change, or are you making it for one person to change, right? So what is your motive here? So based on that, based on your audience, you shortlist 3 to 4 points. And I always feel that, so I used to do a lot of radio work earlier, and the same thing happens whenever I used to go into a story. I used to find so much, like I used to, for a 3-minute story, I used to have recordings of almost 3 to 4 hours, right? So then how do you pick? How do you select? That is when I learned that, you really need your beginning and the end sorted in your head. You need to know what is it that you want to start with and what is it that you want to end with. What's your story here, right? Then you will only pick what is required to substantiate your argument. Take only that. And always tell people know, nobody is a fool here, right? Everybody knows that there is tons and tons of material on every subject. Nobody is expecting you to, nobody wants you to be an encyclopedia. They want you to be a thinking person. They want you to be a thinking person with a solution on hand. So you just need to show that. Whatever is your topic or subject, what is it that you want to propose as a policy or a solution or a change, right? That is what people want to see. People don't want to see you as an encyclopedia on this subject. No. And nowadays, so everything is on the tip of your phone. Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to know, nobody wants to know that you are knowledge ka bhandar. People want to know whether you can think and whether you can give a good suggestion for making your society better. Does that help, Siddharth, or have I confused you even more? No, but very simply, think about your subject and take out the 4 points that you would like to communicate. That's all. Just that. And each point, 1 minute, finished. 4 minutes over.
Yeah, so that's saying you got it. I can see Yehale Shah. Yeah, you can unmute yourself, please.
So I personally struggle with overwriting, like this happens in class as well. So I just write way over the word limit. And I think that's a big challenge, especially when you want to draw focus to certain amounts of information. And when I try to cut down, one thing I really notice is, okay, either I'm missing out on key facts if I cut down, or I'm missing out on, a good analysis if I cut down. So I don't know how to be indiscriminate in the way I just chop down information.
So depending on the time that you have for this exercise, right? What will work is editing and editing and editing. So there's one very fun example which I give to my students. Let's say you want to ask someone out for a coffee or a date, right? How do you write that message, right? How many times do you edit that message on your screen? So because you're choosing the best word, the most effective sentence, the most this, the most that. So what are you doing there is essentially you're editing. So what you are probably struggling with is editing, not writing part. So you're obviously and writing comes naturally to you, so you write. But what you need to focus on then is the second part of writing, which is editing. So how do you cut short? You cut either by tweaking sentence by sentence. That's one way to edit. You will be surprised how much of word length comes down with tweaking every line. Like if you write each sentence, it is called line edits. So you can do it as try it out as an experiment. Take a document which you feel you went overboard with and just try to do line edit, which means you try to cut each sentence short without taking out the larger things. The other way is to then decide if you're going to take out the blocks of writing, right? And you can always say that this is going to be a 2-part writing or a 2-part essay or something, and you save it for later. There's always another time when you can write. Like my editors always used to say that, you can always write another story another time. It doesn't have to go in the same, everything doesn't have to go in the same story at that one time. It can always be done another time. So that's one thing. What you can definitely try to do is to do what I said earlier about structure. If you try to have the subheads before you start writing, sometimes it makes your writing a little bit boring, but it gives it a very good compact structure. So let's say you have intro, you have second subhead, third subhead, fourth subhead, conclusion, and you roughly know what each subhead is going to say. You will be able to contain it. And you know that under each subhead, you will only write 100 words or you will only write 200 words, something like that. Let me know if you try any of these.
Yes, Praj, I'm just taking because it's already 5:04.
Yeah, I know. I was just, yes.
Yeah, I'll just take quick last couple of questions. I can request Aman and Manas, and then
Maybe they can ask the questions and then.
Yeah, maybe you can then answer and Aman, you go ahead and you can ask.
Or you can type in the chat box. The others, I can look at it.
It's okay, ma'am. I'll speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, please,
thank you
Aman.
so very much, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. It was very informative. My doubt is regarding OPED. Since you are a journalist, you can answer really well about it. What is that one thing which makes an opinion editorial in OPED? What we need to keep in mind while doing this work? And because in journalism, we follow a certain pattern while writing an OPED, but when it comes to like Prajatantra competition, can we go beyond like that straight pattern that we used to follow? Can we include like writing, including pictures, graphs, and everything? Will it make it more interesting, or is it something that we are just not following the rules or something? Is it so?
I don't know the Prajatantra rules here. But Aviral, is Aman part of the OPED?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I believe yes, right?
Yes.
Aman? Aman,
So shall we take it up then? Because
Yes,
this
yes,
is
yes,
fairly
yes.
technical. So
Definitely,
but
Aman.
the
So
only thing
yeah.
what I can say is that your OPED needs to be convincing. So you need to have a single argument that you prove with logical, you build on your argument logically and you prove your point at the end of those 700, 800 words that you're writing. So most important thing about an op-ed is how convincing is your argument.
Yes.
But the
So
other
we'll
part
take this
we can-
session.
yeah, we can take it
We'll
in the-
definitely discuss in detail, Aman. We will have a one-on-one with you. I can see Manas also raised hand. Manas, and then mention we can take yours. Yeah, Manas.
Hi, good evening. So, ma'am, it was an amazing session also because I tried to correlate whatever you were talking about to what I have learned all through my school life. So, yes, it did make a lot of sense. I have a fairly technical question. When you talk about something like, for example, in a debate or in a speech competition, 20 points are for creativity. So, as someone like me, the moment I read that, okay, 20 marks are awarded to creativity, the thesaurus inside my brain starts running that, oh my God, let's replace good by amazing,
Right.
let's replace important by quintessential. And that does take away a very major chunk of my time in my speech delivery. But my question is that, is it a substantiated argument that even though I'm using heavier words, do they make an impact to our audience? And if not, how exactly would you suggest that we use that very definition of creativity while writing a piece?
The first answer is no. Using heavier words does not necessarily mean creativity. In fact, more often than not, it means the opposite. So I don't know whose quote is it. Is it Einstein or whoever who said that if you can't explain something simply, it means you've not understood at all. I'm blanking out on the name of who the person is. But so I feel that, no, I don't think lack of simplicity means creativity. No. Making things convoluted is not creativity. What works, especially you're talking about a debate or whatever, competitions where people are judging you, so 20 marks of a creativity, right? But there are 80 marks for other things. So in your creativity, I would say, what really touches me if I were to go and judge a debate competition is how well the topic gets connected to the world around us, right? If you are able to connect it to, like humanizing it is also creativity. Making a real empathetic connection is also creativity. Bringing in a good write-up about it and reciting something is also creativity. Connecting the dots between some seemingly disconnected things is also creativity, right? Let's say, for example, for a long time, climate change worked in a silo and agricultural crisis worked in a silo, right? So the first few presentations where people said that, you know what, this farmer suicide has not happened because of rise in prices, but it has happened because of the unseasonal rain. That is also creativity, right? Because you are connecting something which is so far not said or so far not connected. That is also creativity. I would say that instead of focusing on using really, like I said, massive words like good and amazing, but you know something, the thing is, there is always an apt word for what you want to convey. So it's good if your thesaurus in your mind kind of kickstarts, because when you want to say amazing, good is not good enough, right? When you truly mean amazing, that will be the only word that will be appropriate. So like I said again, like, what is it that you want to convey? That is very important. So don't use random big words for no reason. Use them for a reason. That is good. Telling a story, telling an anecdote really works. If you have an experience from your childhood, from your hometown, from your native, really works. How you felt about something really works. That's also creativity. You may talk about climate change and you may want to tell a story from your childhood where everything was made with mitti and there was zero garbage in your village. That is creativity. So think out of the box. And I know everyone says it, right? What is the box anyway? Like, where is this box? So try to relate it to your childhood. Try to relate it to the experiences around you. Can you connect it? And the drier your subject, try to make it more human. That is creativity as well. So does that give you a few options?
Yeah, I believe so. Manus already.
Absolutely, ma'am. I mean, it does like further makes me more confident that yes, I also have a similar approach to it. And yeah, I get what you're trying to say. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. I can see Mihish. So this is the last question, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
And then we can end this. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, ma'am, personally speaking, I have a problem of stammering. But like when I present my content, so I try to hide it, and like I stammer in the subconscious mind and like on the background. But I don't try to portray that I'm stammering. I try to control the stammering. So like, what can be the option to solve this? Like, I know it's not the right way to present something.
No, in fact, why don't you start with saying that I have a slight problem of stammering and please excuse me if I stammer.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there is a very famous anecdote of one of the very important political leaders was EMS Namboodiripad, and he used to stammer. So apparently one journalist asked him, so when do you stammer? Do you always stammer? So the question was, do you always stammer? And he said, no, only when I speak. So, I mean, it's easy for me to say it, but I would say, since you have, thank you for bringing it in, because I think it's important to talk about these things. You should always just say that, excuse me if I stammer, and please accommodate whatever, and continue with your speech. So don't worry about it at all, because the moment you say it, your subconscious mind will be free of that energy it takes to stammer behind, So that subconscious mind will instead focus on the subject at hand, and you'll probably do better. So I would say, just start your speech when you introduce yourself. Just say that, kindly excuse, I have a slight stammering problem. That's it.
That's good. I believe, thank you so much, Prachi, for this overall discussion. I believe this really helped all our participants, those who are listening, and I know most of them are already appreciating your discussion points and already taking your points itself. Thank you so much, Prachi, for that. I believe all of you like, so can we have a maybe you can show your reactions. You can use a chat box to thank Prachi for the wonderful session.
All the best. And like I said, please continue to read. And if you're not reading, start reading, and write and practice your editing. That's it. Write. Read. Yeah.
Yeah. So you, as you can see, Prachi, lots of love for you in the chat box and the reactions. So that believe this session is wonderful. And at the end, just for 10 seconds, can you all open your video so we can have a quick photograph and screenshot? Please open your videos. So Prachi, now you can see all of our participants. The first biggest barrier is to open a video. Maybe we can have a session on that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Hassan, over to you. We can take a screenshot whenever you are ready.
Please turn on your cameras. Naman, Manavjyoti, Yahil, Gungun, Nisha. Manas.
Okay, Hassan, over to you. You can take. Done. I believe it's good. Thank you so much, Prachi. Thank you for all participants for joining. As you know, tomorrow we have scheduled another knowledge session for you on how to read a Municipal Corporation Act. So this will ultimately help you in preparing for your competitions. So do join us tomorrow, 5 to 6. And thank you, Prachi, so much. On behalf of Praja, on behalf of National Institute of Urban Affairs and UN Habitat, we thank you for your active participation. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. All the best, all of you. Do well. Bye-bye.
Prachi, can you wait for we will let them all leave and
Yeah.
can wait for 5 more minutes?